Aviva, Ireland's largest insurer, is marking the 10-year anniversary of the official opening of the Aviva Stadium and its proud long-term sponsorship of the iconic venue. To celebrate this milestone, Aviva are paying tribute to some of the most iconic sporting moments of the past decade. Feel free to join in. You can follow Aviva Ireland on Instagram and Twitter. You can share your favourite Aviva Stadium memories using the hashtag #SafeToDream. Kevin Kilbane is with us to look back on the time that Leo Messi came to town. Kev, watching a little bit back at this and doing a little bit of research, it came to my attention that you're wearing a very snazzy pair of white boots.
Yeah, I think I got them for that game. I started wearing white boots at that time as well, and I'd always had what I used to wear through my whole career was the black Nike, black Tiempos. I wore them for virtually my whole career. Certainly when I turned pro, anyway. I think that was more often than not I'd wore them, and then Umbro had then become my boot supplier probably when I was about 30. So anyone that knows, when you wear white boots, you actually feel as though you get a little bit of pace or you gain a little bit of pace. So I started to wear white boots after looking down, thinking I was quick. So yeah, in the white boots, yeah, there you go.
What was like brand new? Sorry, but is this the first time you've worn them? You're taking Leo Messi, first game in the Aviva, here we go. It's the new me.
Possibly. I'm not saying that's guaranteed. I definitely wore them from then on after that game. I probably had them, maybe broke them in training that week. But I think the first game, I think, I'm not positive, but I think it was that first game against Messi, yeah.
Because you played through the pivotal era of white boots. I'd imagine the view on white boots is vastly different when you were 15 to the view on white boots when you were 30.
Yeah, but honestly, it was so funny because the turnover, when would that be? Late 2010s it would be, or through up to 2010, maybe late 2000, from 2005, 6 onwards. Anybody that walked onto the training ground in a pair of white boots just used to be slaughtered, and they'd probably have them on for 1 or 2 days and they wouldn't wear them again. And then all of a sudden, slowly but surely, the naturally gifted, the more flamboyant players started to wear them, and then it just become a bit of a thing. I never thought that we'd then, only a couple of years later, start to see the orange and the reds and the everything, but everything changed then, and yeah, fair play to everybody now. Yeah, it's a different game, isn't it?
The other bit of research that we dug up from this was a rumor from about 5 years ago that you guys all got 10 grand a man not to kick Leo Messi in that game.
Yeah, that was a great one. That was a great quote. To be honest, I hardly kicked him anyway. I think he nutmegged me once as well in the game. I wouldn't have minded seeing that money, let me tell you, Jay. Yeah, but
I was going to say, what did you do with it?
Yeah, we didn't get 10 grand. I went to Cheltenham with that 10 grand. That was it. I blew it all in one few days, or over a few days. No, we didn't get 10 grand. There was talk that the FAI were paid a lot of money for that game as well to try to protect Messi. I think even obviously Di Maria scored in the game, but players like that as well who were very high profile at that time. But no, definitely not. We did. None of us saw any money anyway. If the FAI did, who's to say? I don't know.
Come here, like preparing for a game against Messi, like you're all professionals. You've all played against really good footballers in the past, but like this is a game for Ireland where you're opening a new stadium. Is there chatter amongst you in the build-up? It's like, we can't actually wait to see what he's like.
Yeah, I mean, we played some high-profile friendlies over the years. We'd had Brazil games. We'd had some. I'm trying to think some others as well. We had Brazil. I remember even the Brian Kerr. We had Ronaldo, Brazilian Ronaldo, Ronaldinho came to Dublin and things like this. But this is probably a little bit different. I think certainly I thought anyway. I was obviously coming to the back end of my career and to play against Messi, and a lot of the players, even then in those high-profile friendlies, we were always talking in the build-up. Are they going to play? They may get 10 minutes. They may show up. They may not. We don't know. But Argentina went with a strong side. Certainly for the first 45, I know a lot of them changed. I think we made a lot of changes during that game as well. So the talk, I suppose, was, are they going to actually play? But once they played a full-strength side, and once we realised that in the dressing room, it still was low-key. Don't get me wrong. It was a relaxed game. There was definitely a good feeling around the game because of the opening and things like that. But I think it gave the Irish public the first chance to see Messi in the flesh in Dublin. So that was great, yeah.
How important was it for that team to get home as well? Like being in Croke Park was really not a perfect venue for football. To get back to the Aviva and start trying to turn it into something, and over the period of the next decade to build it into a place where other teams are actually not happy to come.
Yeah, that is a great point, I think, on that one, Jay, because it did start to turn sour at Croker because results obviously weren't coming. If the results were there, we were getting some big results there, and everything was going smoothly. There would have been no issues, I don't think. But certainly the performances, I think that's the way it would be. Performances weren't great, and I think the stadium, I think obviously the pitch was affecting us because we just didn't feel close to the supporters there, and it wasn't the ideal pitch for us. I think that's where we all felt at that time. So getting back to the Aviva or Lansdowne was a massive issue for us. I think we all wanted to. We were all desperate to get back and play, and I think the point that you make there on turning it into that little bit of a fortress, it probably still isn't that now, and I think we're all maybe accepted that. Maybe 10 years on, the stadium is just magnificent, but there's been very few big days there. You know, I know that you guys are running the poll at the moment for the greatest game, greatest night there at the Aviva, but we haven't had many of those, and that's been the case. I think we seem to have gone. I mean, I came into the squad in '97. When did Lansdowne get knocked? To mid 2000s or whenever it was, and we still never had. During that time, I felt as though that we had great moments, and whichever team came in, and even maybe you'd look at it and think of the so-called lesser teams like Sweden's and Poland, and we'd come and we beat them. It wouldn't be an issue. We'd feel as though, yeah, there's not a problem with these teams coming in. But I think it has got away from that a little bit now, where there's not that real fortress there, that real fortress, wanting a better phrase, a real test when teams come into Dublin. And I think that we have lost that a little bit at the Aviva, without a doubt.
The one time that it did feel that way, I think, is and Johnny Walter's 2 goals against Bosnia. That was one of those nights where, and partly it was down to his performance in some respects, because that was one of the hardest running, most single-minded, brutalising the opponents physically and mentally here from Jonathan Walters that night that I remember. Yeah,
I remember that game, of course, as well, and that's the way it seemed to be. I remember John watching that game with John, and he was cropping up in every single position, it seemed, on the pitch. Left wing, right wing, left back, right back, wherever it would be, just doing his job for the team. And that, I think that sort of performance maybe did epitomise how the team did play whenever teams came to Lansdowne before that. Maybe that crushing feeling when teams used to come and didn't really enjoy. Maybe there was a little bit of a negative feel around the old Lansdowne, the stadium itself. And I think that was maybe the issues that maybe the Aviva now certainly doesn't have, because it's just such a beautiful stadium, and sides can come and enjoy playing there. But that performance in particular, maybe from Johnny Walters and the rest of the side, I think that was maybe a bit of a throwback to times when sides really knew they were in a game when they came to Lansdowne. Yeah.
We're looking to rank the top 10. How do you put that one up against the Shane Long goal against Germany?
I think that's the greatest night, Shane Long, the greatest moment. Anyway, I got a ticket for that game. Actually, I was up behind the goal, and it was right behind the goal that Shane Long scored. So it was. I think when you finish playing, it's different, because I used to think back to when I was a kid, where I used to get nervous in the lead up to the Irish games, and it was feeling a bit like that. It feels a bit like that even when I'm working on the Irish games now. Whether they've been at a major tournament or whether they've been, any of the qualifying games, but particularly around that game, because we know that we needed a big result that night. We didn't play particularly well. It was a really solid performance, but that one big moment was like McAteer. It was like McAteer all those years before against Holland. It was a perfect ball played over the top, albeit inadvertently played over the top from Darren Randolph. Shane Long's pace got him away. And the buzz around the stadium, I think that was the first time at that stadium where there was a real buzz leaving the stadium. I mean, and I'm talking a real buzz. Anybody knows that's been to Lansdowne and been to the Aviva over the years, when you walk away from a game and you get that real buzz of watching an Irish side, that's what I felt when I left. And I didn't get the chance to go and watch Ireland as a kid at Lansdowne, because obviously we didn't have the money to get over and watch games. So that's when I really felt like a fan leaving a stadium, having that buzz around such a big occasion and such a big goal.
Was that Germany team the best team to play at the Aviva so far?
You probably would be, I'd say so. Yeah, I mean, certainly you look at Messi and all that Argentine sides that were brilliant at that side. But yeah, there was nothing on that game, of course. So yeah, I'd definitely say world champions. They were top notch, weren't they? So yeah, and you probably got the list in front of you there as well. I don't remember off the top of my head now what that team was, but I remember it. We didn't have a chance, did we? There was no chance given to us prior to that game, and that was a top class side that we played against. Yeah.
Any other great moments from the last decade that kind of stand out for you, either as a fan or as someone who played there?
No, I don't. None that. I mean, I think it's almost been. We might get one big occasion, or one looking forward to a big night. You know, obviously the Denmark game. We were all. I remember specifically saying even in the lead up when we was in studio leading in up to that game. Look, let's look for a big night. Let's look for a Germany night. We've not had too many big nights at the Aviva, and that has been the case. That I'm sure that Stephen Kenny, I'm sure he's mindful of that fact. That he's been to the Aviva, he's watched the team over the years playing there. That we, of course, from the suggestion is that we're playing a different brand of football. That, of course, will help. But it's the big night. Sometimes it's about getting a result against all the odds. And we've managed to do that over the years. And that's what certainly happened in that Germany match. And they're the memories that supporters have for years and years to come. So there's nothing. We talk about the Bosnia and the Germany game, but they are the two standout nights, the two standout results. I'd feel, yeah.
Yeah, we need more of them. Basically, that's the thing.
Yeah, definitely, absolutely. And the stadium is so good now, and that's the thing. We've got a world class stadium. We've got an amazing. We've got amazing facilities. Yet we've not necessarily turned in consistent performances over a long period of time, and that's what we need to start producing now. And that's the one thing I think we're all looking forward to in the next few years under Stephen Kenny. Absolutely.
One of the things that was fairly obvious to us in the long time that we've been working with you is that you're not particularly prone to nostalgia. You don't have a massive memorabilia collection, and yet there is a picture of the game that we're talking about over your shoulder, right?
Yeah. That's. I didn't. I'll get it down for you. Yeah, I don't really have too many pictures. Honestly, I don't. So yeah, that's I suppose when you play against the greatest player to ever play the game, then yeah, that's Messi and I together on the same pitch. So that's a nice little memory. Certainly, when I look back at my career now, I can certainly reflect upon that night playing against him. Yeah.
Was it worth it, Kev? Was it worth throwing away that 10 grand to put in that challenge?
Well, you probably see from that challenge, he's knocking the ball past me, so he's away from me on that. I was flat on my arse at probably 2 seconds or a second or so after that picture was taken, but it looks good. It looks like I'm about to hack him down there, yeah.
Well, to talk to us about that, the way Lionel Messi manages to knock the ball past the opponents, because it's something that John Giles was talking about on the show recently when describing Maradona, that Maradona is the best of all time when it comes to beating players, and perhaps Messi actually just isn't as good as him when it comes to beating a player like that. I'm not sure if that's something you'd go along with.
Do you know what? I mean, Messi, I love Maradona. Maradona was the first real superstar that I saw as a kid. We'd heard and maybe seen small footage of, seen footage of Pele to a certain degree when I was a kid growing up. But Maradona, Mexico '86 was the first World Cup that I watched, and I fell in love with Maradona when I was a kid. And as a left footer as well, I just loved him. So I fully realise that, and after watching so much football over the years, the consistency on Messi, I think it stands him above anybody that the game has ever seen. Lads like John Giles will always have the arguments on the players that were played in certain eras, and the argument will go on and on and on. But Messi is, what I was going to say there, just playing against him. He's in first and second gear. I think he didn't necessarily show anything that night where you think, wow, this guy. But I remember just coming up against him, and one-on-one defending was never my forte. I was always when I went back and played left back, I would always just support from behind a little bit, just get your distances between the guy you'd be coming up against, try and get it right. Wasn't necessarily slow, but you could maybe just gauge it with that. But maybe because of my length of leg, it took me maybe 2 or 3 steps to get going again. But certainly playing against him, it made me realise how good he was. Just on a couple of occasions, just that little bit of movement, that the step onto his right foot, check back in onto his left foot, always coming in field into bodies. But it was how quickly he could check back across you as well. There was you couldn't stop him essentially. He only maybe did it 2 or 3 occasions to me in the game, or maybe even 1 or 2 occasions actually, because of maybe the game itself and how low key it was. He didn't really put too much effort into the match, but I could see just on a couple of occasions how good he is. And it was just one of those moments, as I said, you can just look back and think, yeah, managed to play against him, yeah.
So it's the speed at which he turns direction, it's the close control. They're 2 of the things that take him to a stratosphere above everybody else.
Yeah, definitely. And the change of pace. When you're watching him, sometimes you're watching Messi, and I'm actually watching that Barca documentary on Netflix at the moment, which isn't the greatest, don't get me wrong, but when you're watching footage of Messi from up above, he isn't that naturally that quick. You can see that, but his pace with and without the ball seems exactly the same, and it is that close control and the pace that he's moving with the ball at speed when he's going at players. Players can't turn and adjust, and he's able to turn and adjust and check with both his left and right foot at that pace, and players can't adjust to it. And that's why you can see him gliding past players when he goes on the inside onto his left and then immediately back out onto his right, because a defender up against him can't adjust his feet quick enough, because the feet always seem, I mean, it's hard to explain, I suppose, really, but if I'm going up against a player, usually I try and show him the line. So I try and angle my body on the pitch, try and show him the line. But Messi has that way of checking back in onto a right foot of a left back, and when he does that, then he's immediately checking back onto your outside. So you can't adjust your feet quick enough, and that's why he immediately gets away from you, because of the pace that he's running at.
We also have another picture here of him towering over you and winning a header as well. What size Leo Messi?
5'5" or something, is he? I don't know. Show the picture. I need to see it. Can I see it? I've not seen it yet. I can't see it there.
What size are you?
I think I was probably trying to read something a bit different, Jay. You know, or maybe just letting him head it on. There was no one in behind. There was no threat, and I was maybe allowing him to do it. I think. I don't know.
All right, I can.
6'2", yeah, 6'2". Yeah, towering over me.
I can share my screen here so you can have a look at the photograph, Kev. There you are. In fairness, yeah. it's just a great leap by Lionel Messi. Really.
Yeah, as I said, there was no threat in behind me. I just allowed him to go and win it, and then it would go harmlessly through to Shea there, so it would have been fine.
Absolutely.
It's the athleticism, though. There is like a weird innate athleticism, despite the fact he doesn't look particularly athletic, and he doesn't use his athleticism in a traditional way to create space.
Yeah, I know. That's it. Again, just maybe reverting back to that documentary, the header that he scored against Man United in that Champions League final. Not too sure of the year, but you could see the athleticism in that header on him. How he's maybe travelling a little bit away from goal. He's got to direct the header back on target. You can see his athleticism. And do you know what, Jay? I think a lot of modern players as well now, certainly from the early teenage years now, working on plyometrics, working on various things. The athleticism is there with, a vast majority of professional footballers now, because of the work that's been put into them from when they're such a young age.
Kev, quickly, just the return of football. I mean, obviously, you're keeping a close eye on this. It was back at the Bundesliga at the weekend.
Yeah.
We're about a month away today, yesterday, from the return of the Premier League. I know the Premier League getting a lot of criticism for not seeming to have a coherent plan, but like the country was in a complete mess. So they were right, I think, to bide their time and let things play out and then come back when it's safe to do so. Yeah,
I think the criticism is always going to be there. From what's happened, nobody foresaw what was about to what was about to happen, and I think in these sort of situations, it would always come down to just be cautious, just take your time. And I watched a little bit of that Dortmund game at the weekend. It's strange watching the matches, but if that's the way it's going to be, if that's the way it's got to be in the coming weeks and months and years even, then that's the way it's got to be. We've just got to accept that is it. And I think every league in the world, it is just strange that some of the leagues across the world have decided, look, just to cancel the seasons, and then some are going to phase them back in. But I think, as we know, certainly with the Premier League, it wouldn't necessarily be about, we'll give Liverpool the Premier League title and everything will be fine. There's so much more. There's so much at stake with promotion, relegation, and things like this that I just feel as though that there's going to have to be a phasing on how the season's going to be restarted. No matter when it's going to finish, we can always restart further down the line, and that's the way it's got to be.
Yeah, let next year year take care of itself, and we can worry about that then.
Absolutely.
But for now, yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, that's exactly what I think. Yeah.
How's lockdown in Canada?
Quiet, pretty much the same, really. Weather hasn't been great. We've had a bit of snow in the last week or two, so that's not been great either. But weather's just turning a little bit really here now, so hopefully now we'll start to look to better days in the future. But no, I mean, I think it does. No matter what anybody says, it just it puts everything into perspective. You start to think about everything and think about maybe even talking about this sort of game, little things that have happened across the course of your life and where you're going to and what's going to be happening. So, just maybe reflect a little bit on what's about to come as well. But no, happy, so happy. Couldn't be happier, really, and everything's great.
Well, you're looking well.
Good man. Good man, yeah. I need a haircut. I'm getting like Owen. I was saying that before. We both need haircuts now, yeah.
Is there
you had a buzz cut?
You can do, yeah. Is there nobody there who can help you out with a bit of a cut? Would you not try it out yourself?
I've not cut. No, I had it cut really short. Literally, probably a couple of days. So it was very short actually. So it's just a bit of a mess. A bit of a trim with the scissors here and there, just on the fringe. Just get the clippers out to shave my neck, the back of my neck, and that's been pretty much it really. But now it's getting a bit of a mess now.
I'm just impressed it's growing back the same colour, Kev. That was the important part.
Jay, you know that. I tell you, the stick would always come on the hair dye. Never, ever would I ever do that. Never. Yeah, it's the no, never. I say that. Yeah, I said I'd never have a spray tan, and I did. So there you go. It's the Ackle roots. The Ackle roots. You know, that's what it is. No, definitely no hair dye. No, I'm not at that stage yet. No.
Right.
Are you younger than me, Jay? Sorry, don't know. Sorry, believe that.
It was my birthday this week.
Is it?
I'm going grey disgracefully. Yeah.
Yeah. No, he looks well. He's got it natural all the way.
Distinguished, I believe, is the word.
Yeah, natural.
Okay, great stuff. Good to talk to you.
Well done. Cheers, Jay.
Thanks very much. A reminder, Aviva, Ireland's largest insurer, is marking the 10-year anniversary of the official opening of the Aviva Stadium and its proud long-term sponsorship of the iconic venue. To celebrate this milestone, Aviva are paying tribute to some of the most iconic sporting moments of the last decade. Feel free to join in. You can follow Aviva Ireland on Instagram and Twitter and share your favourite Aviva Stadium memories using #SafeToDream, and the semi-finals will take place today. We'll be back in a minute.